Good morning or evening for some of you. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Leticia Samarripa, Director of Global Engagement in charge of the Intercultural Programs Office. Next slide, please. I will review some event logistics before we start. You can see and hear us, but we cannot see or hear you. Please submit your questions because we will have a chance to interact with you, of course, even though we cannot see you. Please submit your questions in the question box on the right side of your screen at the end of the presentation. We will have time to answer any questions you may have related to the session after we are done. The event is being recorded as any other event, and it will be posted within 48 business hours on our YouTube channel. You may find the link of the YouTube channel on our orientation page, International Orientation webpage. Next slide, please. So today we have a very important session. Thanks again for attending because we have invited the Bursar office. The Bursar office is the one that is in charge of everything that is related to your tuition and fees. And they will be providing detailed information regarding how to pay your tuition and fees, how to make a tuition plan selection. They will talk about your payment plan options and a variety of other related topics that I'm sure they are very, very important for you. I take the opportunity to remind you about registering for International Student Orientation, which is mandatory. You may find all the information on how to register on our webpage as well for International Student Orientation. Okay, so it is my pleasure to introduce Patrick Cruz. He is the Assistant Director of Student Accounts at the Bursar office. Thank you very much, Patrick, for being here with us to share this relevant information for our new international students.
Thank you so much. Appreciate being here. All right. And if we are ready, we can go ahead and start getting into it. Maybe if the slide will come up. Just a little bit of lag, so no worries, everyone. Just a couple seconds. All right. So while that is getting ready, I'll just go ahead and just briefly introduce myself to everyone here. Once again, I am Patrick Cruz, Assistant Director of Student Accounts. A little bit of what I do for our office is that we generally will work with students with payment arrangements. We do anything from billing, collecting, payment reminders, payment emails, payment phone calls. We give everyone their payment options, answer basic questions, things like that. Yeah, just a little general about me. What our office does as our main functions, while we're waiting for that slide to get up, I'll go ahead and actually just get started on that. So what our office does as a whole is we assess, bill, and collect on all tuition and fees. We also collect on your on-campus housing charges. Meal plans are included in that as well. All of those are things that go on your billing statement each semester, every semester to students, as long as you're signed up for those specific charges. We do implement our payment and refund schedule that is located on the academic calendar, which is located online. The academic calendar is updated every semester, so we are always updating the dates for when tuition and payments are going to be due. Our online services or our payment portal, which is known as EasyPay, that's actually where you will go to log in to make most of your payments for each semester. we are in charge of maintaining that portal. In the event that, let's say, maybe a student gets a refund or they have an overpayment on their account, we also process refunds on those accounts as well. So there's quite a bit of different things that we do overall in our office, but we're going to go ahead and just keep going, even if the slides are a little bit slow here. I'm going to just go ahead and just keep going on with it. So a little bit about tuition at UT Dallas. We use what's called a tuition rate plan as opposed to a per credit hour rate. So pretty much what that means is we're not charging you per individual hour necessarily. It's based on two types of tuition that we offer the students. So generally, if you are a full-time student, you are going to be taking at least probably 12 hours, which is going to be 4 classes. A typical class is going to be about 3 credit hours. It's very rare you're going to find 1 to 2 credit hour courses. Those may be some sort of elective, but most of the time your core classes and your requirements for your degree are going to be 3 credit hours. So most of you will take at least 12 hours or 4 classes a semester and up. All of our new incoming students automatically get placed on what we call our variable tuition rate. So the rate, we call it a variable tuition rate because it's subject to change each academic year. We have another rate that's called a guaranteed rate. That rate locks you into a consecutive payment for 4 consecutive years at the same price. So what that means is, let's say your tuition for the semester is $8,000. If you are on the guaranteed rate, you are locked into that rate for $8,000 for 4 consecutive years. That would be assuming you're taking full-time courses, though. It could be less than that if you're on the guaranteed rate. The variable rate is subject to change yearly. Historically, it does. Within the past couple of years, our variable rate has not changed and is not expected to change again until next fall at this point. You can compare the tuition of the 2 rates. You're going to see our variable rate example in this presentation today just to see what the cost is. I will preface that the guaranteed rate right now is about $1,000 more than our variable rate. So right now, all students are getting placed on our variable tuition rate as it presents a cost savings at this time, whereas the guaranteed does not. Students that would like to change from variable tuition to the guaranteed rate can email us for instructions on how to do so. You can start doing that December 11th. Right now, we do not have it available to change the rates, but starting December 11th, you can reach out to us and we can change your rate to guaranteed if you wish. All right, and so with that guaranteed, a little bit more about that, as it does lock you in for 4 consecutive years. The reason why it was originally created was to aid students and families in kind of budgeting and planning for their overall expenses. So if you know what the price of being a full-time student is for tuition for 4 consecutive years, you're going to know what the price is each semester if you're taking full-time. So if your plan expires, and by that I mean, let's say you're on guaranteed rate, and then you've reached your 5th year, the guaranteed rate locks in whatever rate you're at when you start for 4 consecutive years. If you get in your 5th year, you're going to go on the next available guaranteed tuition plan, which means you'll get locked in for another 4 years. Hopefully, you're not doing your undergrad for that long, and maybe you're matriculating into a master's program at that point. But if you are on the guaranteed rate, once that plan does expire, you would just get moved over to the next active guaranteed rate plan. I'm going to preface that students are only charged for the terms that you sign up for. So in terms of your actual charges, if you are taking classes, living on campus, have a meal plan, if you've signed up for those things, we will charge you for them. We do not charge you for anything that you did not sign up for. All right. And if we can go ahead and get to that next slide with the variable tuition rate. And once again, this will be available online, and it already is for students. So don't worry about not being able to see this or take a picture. Presentation will be posted online. The tuition rates are going to be posted online as well if you want to view the guaranteed tuition rate. So right now what we have on here is the variable rate. As I said, it has not changed probably with about the last couple of years. The price has not changed with that variable rate. That's why we say historically it's supposed to go up each year every fall. One thing to note on here is that we have it grouped by resident and non-resident. So resident really just refers to a Texas resident, and the non-resident is going to refer to a non-Texas resident for the sake of the tuition. So if you're not a resident of Texas, you would be looking at any of the lines that would say non-resident. And we'll also get a little bit more into residency slightly in terms of how it refers to your tuition too. If you look at this tuition table, you'll see that for 12 credit hours and up, once you start getting to 12 credit hours up to 15, the base price of your tuition, if you're in a combination of classes for the semester, does not increase. Your base tuition price will not increase after 12 hours. So you could technically take 15 hours and pay the same base price for tuition. You could also take 18 hours if your advisor approves that. After that, though, it caps off at a certain price. All right. And then also, in addition to just your regular tuition, there are several other charges that you're going to have. I've already brought up a couple, but we're still going to go over them. First one is going to be supplemental designated tuition fees. And essentially what those are these are additional per semester credit hour fees that are assessed for students enrolled in any course from select schools. So as you know, we have individual schools within the university as a whole. Some of the individual schools do charge an additional per credit hour fee. These fees are usually assessed to defray the higher costs associated with instruction in these schools. So some of that is supplementing the instructors and those individual schools as well. And then once you look at the additional charges, they're not too much per credit hour. It really depends on the school. But the list of schools that does include, it's going to be the School of Arts, Humanities, and Technology, your School of Behavior and Brain Sciences, School of Economic, Political, and Policy Sciences, your Eric Johnson School of Engineering and Computer Science, as well as the Naveen Jindal School of Management. Each of those and their respective courses that are listed on that additional charges for supplemental designated tuition, we'll list the fees next to them. Can be anywhere up to 50 to 100 per credit hour, just depending on what school you're actually attending. All right. And then additional charges. Next, we're going to move on to student insurance. So all international students holding an F1, F2, J1, or J2 non-immigrant visa, you are required to have approved health insurance coverage while enrolled at a UT system institution. The insurance requirement does apply to you if you are not any of the following: U.S. citizen, a lawful U.S. permanent resident, asylee, refugee, undocumented alien, etc. International students are automatically enrolled in what's called UT SHIP each semester. So that is student insurance that is charged to the student account. If you do not wish to pay for or use the UT SHIP insurance that is charged to your account, the student health insurance does offer waivers for international students who establish a certain eligibility criteria to prove that they have a comparable insurance coverage. We do have a link on here for that as well. You can click on that link or copy it, and that will give you the requirements that you need to waive our insurance if you believe you already have insurance that's going to be comparable to the one that we offer. On the next slide, we do have the current prices for the insurance. As you can see, these are currently the rates for 2023, 2024. Again, if your insurance maybe costs less or is also still meeting the comparable criteria, you may want to reach out and then see if you can have this waived, so that way you don't have an extra charge that you may not need if you already have insurance. All right, and then additional charges. Next is going to be your meal plan. Meal plans are not a requirement. If you are living on campus, which is also not a requirement, you may have to purchase a meal plan if you're living in the dorms. You may want to check with housing if that is a requirement. Usually that's just a first year thing if you're living in the dorms only. Meal plans are a cost-effective and a convenient way for students to dine on campus. You do have different options for your meal plans as well. It really just depends on how often you're going to be on campus, whether you're living on campus, and then how many meals per day essentially you think you might have. As you can see, we've got a comment 10, 14, and 19. Those numbers are pretty much delineating how many meals per week you have with those individual plans. Now, these plans are not necessarily assuming that you're going to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Generally, students don't stick to a consistent schedule. Who knows, maybe you will. But they also usually do come up with some sort of extra amount of meal money included in those as well. You can see the pricing on there. If you have additional questions about purchasing a meal plan, definitely feel free to reach out to Dining Services. Housing, if you're planning on living on campus, whether it's with Canyon Creek Heights, which is on-campus apartments, or you're living in the dorms for your first year, definitely want to reach out to the leasing office in terms of availability. The availability for those do tend to go quickly, but usually since we are talking about spring, there are usually some vacancies that can occur at the end of a fall semester during winter. So it's very possible some spaces will open up for that spring semester, especially for the following summer. So if you're thinking about living on campus, definitely reach out to housing and ask them about vacancies, especially if it wouldn't be convenient for you to live off campus. All right, and then tuition estimates and statements. So we usually do our tuition calculation about 6 to 8 weeks prior to the beginning of a new term or semester, if you will. So we know students may need documentation for a sponsor, or let's say maybe you were getting loan funding from your home country somewhere at your own bank, and it may take some time to get that funding over, and you need proof of how much your costs are actually going to be. That's the reason why we usually will calculate our tuition early. In terms of actually sending out a bill for students, I am going to point out that we usually will have a bill ready once the student's registered. We are currently estimated to start sending bills out for the spring semester around December 11th, I believe. So if you're already registered by then, you would likely get a bill already. We may send out an additional bill in December as well, just so you know ahead of time before the semester actually starts what your costs are going to be. If you don't have a bill though, and you are admitted and you need an estimate for your tuition, you can log into Orion and then access what's called your UTD Student Center. From your UTD Student Center, you're going to have a whole bunch of little tiles or squares that say different things on them. You'll have one that says Bursar account. You'll click on the Bursar account tile, and there is going to be a section in there that says tuition estimate. That tuition estimate is going to be based on our variable rate, as all students are placed on our variable rate. You do have the option to also add in a housing and meal plan charge on that tuition estimate, and it's going to get you a pretty close estimate to what all your actual costs are going to be. After we've done tuition calculation, once again, your statements will be available pretty shortly after you're registered in your classes and the charges are available for that term. If the charges are already available for that term and you're registering, then your bill is probably going to show up within 24 hours and your charges are going to be on that account. If you wanted to actually view your account statement, you would still just go to your UTD Student Center. Once again, you'd click on that Bursar account tile, and there's going to be a section that says account statement. This account statement that pulls up is viewable every semester. And every semester that you get charges on your account, you're going to be able to view what those charges are, even if the semester has passed. All right. And the next thing we're going to roll into here is tuition insurance. And so tuition insurance is something that is relatively new for the university in general. We started offering tuition insurance in conjunction with a company called GradGuard in the spring of 2022. GradGuard is offering special rates and plans for our university that are generally not available to the general public. While we are partnered with GradGuard to offer this tuition insurance to students, the university itself is not getting any compensation for this. It is just strictly a partnership. This tuition insurance also is not a requirement, it is optional. It can reimburse, though, up to 100% of your school expenses or payments after you've maybe had an unexpected withdrawal for a covered illness, injury, mental health disorder, various things. Even if you had an unexpected death in the family, that can also potentially cover up to 100% of your expenses. The reason why we started offering this is generally, if you're looking at the education code in the state of Texas, we don't have what's called a benevolent refund. Our refunds are really going to be based on our academic calendar and whenever our classes dropped. As a result, we started offering this tuition insurance with GradGuard as an extra means of potentially protecting your investment at the university. I will say that right now, currently, the tuition insurance is about $110 a semester for up to $10,000 in coverage. That amount can be increased. It just starts at $110 for $10,000 in coverage. The reason why I mention that is if you are considered a non-Texas resident, your tuition is going to be significantly higher than someone who is considered a Texas resident. So you may need to pay a little bit more to get complete coverage. And while I realize that we are at an international orientation as well, I'm going to preface this that GradGuard does offer tuition insurance to international students that are taking courses here in the US. So this is totally valid. You don't have to purchase it. It's optional for all students. The student or their parent can purchase this tuition insurance. We offer it every semester. The deadline to actually go ahead and purchase it is usually going to be before the first day of class each semester. So in this case, for spring 2024, that's going to be January 15th. So you would really want to make sure that you're getting tuition insurance to be safe. I would almost plan on getting it maybe even the week before, just so you're prepared and you're not rushing to try to get insurance. All right. And then next thing we're going to talk about here is scholarship recipients. So all university scholarships, whether it's going to be even if it's a third-party scholarship, we're going to apply it directly to the student account. This is important. So a scholarship of $1,000 or more will qualify a student for the resident tuition rate for the entire academic year. A separate credit is posted to a student account that waives the difference between a resident and non-resident rate. So to make that sound just a little bit more simple, let's say your out-of-state resident rate is $10,000 and the in-state rate is $5,000. If you receive a scholarship of $1,000 or more, and we're saying that qualifies you for the resident tuition rate, we are going to apply a waiver on your account that's going to bring it down to the in-state rate. So if the in-state rate is $5,000, for instance, and your out-of-state rate is $10,000, we're going to take $5,000 off your account via a waiver to bring it down to the correct cost of the in-state, while also still applying your $1,000 scholarship. Some students get confused on that when we say it qualifies them for the resident tuition rate, as they can get that confused with us qualifying them as a resident. Those are not going to be the same thing. In terms of actually determining a residency, that would be more the registrar's office. For scholarship's sake and tuition and fees, we are giving you the resident tuition rate for that year that you're receiving the scholarship. Now, if you're receiving a scholarship that is good for more than 1 year, then we will keep applying that waiver as applicable to that scholarship that you are receiving. So all scholarship recipients also are going to receive an extended payment deadline each semester. that extended payment deadline is going to be the same deadline that our financial aid recipients get. That will be posted on our payment and refund calendar as long as our regular payment deadline, but we'll also go over that on our next slide as well. Payment is expected to be made after your scholarship and waiver have been posted. You'll want to make sure that you're checking with the department that's awarding the scholarship or the financial aid office if you're not seeing the scholarship posted within a few days prior to the payment deadline. The reason why we're saying the department or financial aid is because whatever department is actually awarding or offering the scholarship, they're going to notify financial aid. Financial aid will be the ones to actually put that scholarship funding in your financial aid in Orion, where it'll go to our office where it'll actually get dispersed on the account. So if something's holding that scholarship up, you may want to reach out to your department first. And then if the scholarship's on your financial aid account already, you may need to reach out to financial aid. There are some links right here on this page. Those are just for our scholarship listings. So the very first one, it just says finaid.utdallas.edu. That is going to be the financial aid page where you're going to go ahead and see scholarship opportunities in general. Financial aid is really good about listing those scholarship opportunities on that page each semester. There is also a second link on here that is the scholarship listing page. That's a more broad page where it's going to list any open scholarships for the entire semester. Another thing I will point out is the individual academic departments. They sometimes have their own separate scholarship portals on their websites. It does not hurt to check your individual academic school. So if you're in JSOM, for instance, you may want to check their page to see if they have a separate scholarship application. All right, and then moving on here, as I said, our payment and refund calendar. All of this information is put on our calendar every semester. We are always updating it ahead of time. It's available for all students. Once we actually start sending out payment reminder, deadline reminders, we will usually include a link to the current semester calendar for students, and we'll send several of those reminders out a semester too. That'll be sent to your UT Dallas email. All students are responsible for reviewing the payment and refund calendar. Again, we are going to send them out to you, so we do give students plenty of chances to view that calendar. It gives estimated dates. We say estimated. We're pretty good about sticking to those dates, however, for generating our billing statements each semester. As I stated before, we are looking at probably December 11th for our first bills for the spring. Your payment deadlines, as well as any late payment fees that could accrue if you miss a payment, as well as payment plan options and due dates, are also going to be on that payment calendar as well. Refund schedule for dropping a course or completely withdrawing, that's also on there. We do have a slide on that we are going to also cover that information a little bit too. Your spring 2024 payment deadlines. Your regular payment deadline is going to be January 11th. This is for students that are not or are not respecting to receive any type of financial aid from the university or any scholarship really in this case. Financial aid recipient deadline, this is what you're looking at if you're a scholarship recipient. It's going to be January 25th. So that means you do have a little bit more time if you're expecting a scholarship to post to your account to actually make any payment. You do want to verify that you received an extension each semester, that you're eligible to receive financial aid. What that means is most students will have a hold on their account that will also show what your deadline is, and then it'll also show whether or not you are receiving any sort of scholarship as well. If you don't see anything on there that's saying you're a scholarship recipient, you may want to reach out to financial aid, make sure that they have been notified by your department, that they have all their correct indicators on your account so they get the scholarship on there on time. All right, and then now tuition payments. Mentioned Easy Pay earlier at the beginning here. So Easy Pay is just your payment portal. You'll log in and make your payments online. You can view your billing statement. This is another place to actually view your billing statement in addition to your UTD Student Center. You can set up direct deposit. Direct deposit is really going to be just in the event that you might get a refund for the semester. So If you are expecting any sort of refund, that could be from an overpayment, that could be from maybe a scholarship overpaid on your account, maybe you made an extra payment on the account on accident, we will reissue any money that is owed back to you through direct deposit. With direct deposit, you do get a refund back in about 2 to 3 business days. We generally don't do checks anymore. If you are going to get a check refund, it does have to be a US address as well. Adding an authorized user, I'm not expecting anyone to know what an authorized user is, but I'll go ahead and explain. So an authorized user is really just going to be an extra user that is able to access and make payment on the student's behalf. They do not log in the same as the student. The student does have their own login credentials and password to actually go in and get into EasyPay. When the student logs into EasyPay, they have the option to set up an authorized user. This gives their parent or whomever they are giving access to their own separate account to log into so they can make payment on your behalf and still view the billing statement. Do not share your NetID and password with your parent. Please have them set up an authorized user account. The parent does not need to have access to any of the student's credentials. You can also set up an installment plan through EasyPay. An installment plan is just one of our payment methods that we do offer. I'm going to touch on that on our next slide here. All right, payment methods. So once again, EasyPay, you log into your EasyPay. You can pay by credit card. However, we do have a credit card fee of 1.9%. Acceptable credit cards are going to be MasterCard, American Express, and Discover Card. We do not accept Visa for tuition payments. The reason why is generally Visa charges a higher percentage to make those payments for the convenience fee. So with MasterCard, American Express, and Discover, it's going to be a smaller overall fee on both ends. If you're using a travel card, we will treat that as a credit card payment, so it would still be subject to the 1.9% fee. If you want to use an electronic check, which is essentially just going to be connecting to your bank account and it's pulling the funds directly from that bank account, there is no fee associated with that. You would just need to set up a US bank account and then have access to your bank routing number and account number. If you are trying to drop off a in-person payment, we do have a drop box on the second floor of the Student Services building. Check, demand draft, money order, those can all be sent to the following address here. They can still be dropped off in person if you're on campus. That address is just going to our drop box that's on campus, which we do check quite frequently. I would say allow about 3 weeks if you're sending a check payment in the mail to be received and posted. So if you are going to send a check, if you're on campus, you may just want to go ahead and put it in the Dropbox. Otherwise, if you're off campus, make sure to send it ahead of time. If you know what your payment deadline is, if you know you're going to have a January 11th payment deadline, you're going to want to make sure to send that in the mail at least 3 weeks ahead of time so that we get it in time to post it to your account. And then if you're doing an international wire, we have what's called Flywire. With this, you can pay from any country and any bank, and typically it can still be within your home currency. And you can also use multiple payment methods with this as well. There's no additional fees if you are going to be using Flywire to wire payments to us. We do say that you please allow for time to the payment to go through though. Same with a check. Sometimes the Flywire payments can take a little bit of time to go through. So your steps to actually do a payment to UTD using Flywire would be to go into your Galaxy or your Orion Student Center. In the Orion Student Center, on your Bursar account, there's a link for Flywire under your payment options. It's going to redirect you right to Flywire. You'll select the country that you're in. You'll create a login if you don't already have one. And then you're going to select your preferred payment option and then fill in the required information for that payment. Since you will have to log in with your NetID and password, it is automatically going to fill in the student ID once you actually get into Flywire. From there, you just have to follow the instructions that it gives you to actually send the funds to us. In the event that you are unable to get the funds by January 11th, the regular payment deadline, you may want to consider something that's called a short-term loan in Galaxy or Orion as a way to extend your payment deadline. This does give you more time to make your payment. In terms of what the short-term loan is, that is one of our 2 payment plan options that we offer each semester to students. So, first payment plan option that we offer is a installment plan. It's going to work more like a traditional payment plan. The installment plan is set up by logging into your EasyPay. It takes your tuition, housing, meal plan, student insurance fees, all of those. All of those fees are included in your installment. There is a $25 setup fee to set up the installment, and then you will also have your first installment or a 25% down payment due at the time of the enrollment into the plan. Once you've paid the setup fee and the first installment, your remaining 3 of 4 installments are going to be spread out through the semester that you've signed up for this plan. So for instance, your second installment for the spring semester is going to be due February 7th. Your third installment would be due March 6th. And then your final installment would be due April 3rd. One thing I will point out about the installment plan, the way the installments are laid out, generally your third or fourth installment is going to be due by the time that registration for the next fall and summer semester will start. So if you still owe that installment, you will likely have a hold on your account that will prevent you from registering for those semesters. So you do want to make sure that you are current on whatever installment is due whenever your registration opens up in the spring. Your short-term loan. All right, as I was mentioned just on the previous page, if for some reason you don't think a payment is going to get here in time by your January 11th due date, the short-term loan payment will cover your tuition and course-related fees. However, it's important to preface, the short-term loan only covers tuition and course-related fees. So if you have housing, meal plan, student insurance, the short-term loan is not going to cover those. It's really only covering your tuition and course-related fees. So let's say you're not living on campus, you don't have a meal plan, you've only got tuition on your account. Maybe you're waiting for your Flywire payment to go through, or even maybe you're waiting for a loan from a bank back at home to come through. If you need more time and we're already at that payment deadline, the short-term loan may be a better option for you overall than doing the installment plan. Because the installment plan does require $25 and 25% of your total upfront, that could be a huge cost out of pocket, especially if you only have tuition on your account. You may want to do the short-term loan. The short-term loan extends your payment deadline to approximately about 50 days after our census deadline. Census is essentially just going to be our state reporting day. That's just when we actually report the enrollment for the university to the state of Texas. Usually your deadline will be pushed 50 days after that date. For the spring 2024 deadline, it's going to be about March 6th, which is when the third installment, if you were doing an installment plan, will also be due. Generally, this is, again, when your registration for that semester for the next year will be opening up. So if you're only looking at tuition on your account, the short-term loan might be a better option. While there is a 1.25% origination fee that goes with that 1.25% origination fee is not charged upfront. There's no money upfront with a short-term loan. So if you're waiting for more money to come in, you can do the short-term loan, push your payment due date back to about mid-semester. That'll give you more time to actually go ahead and pay. Once you get to that point, it is expected that you pay some in a whole. Your classes aren't going to be dropped if you don't, but there may be a late payment fee associated with that if you do miss that payment at that point. Installment plan, one more time. If you wanted to sign up for the installment and you've got tuition, housing, meal plan, you go in your EasyPay account and sign up through there. Your short-term loan, you can actually sign up for through your UTD Student Center. You would just go to your Bursar tile and then look at payment options, and then the short-term loan is right there. Short-term loan takes about less than a minute to sign up for. It will give you a prompt at the beginning just telling you the terms of the loan. You click accept, You click OK. The loan reflects on your account usually within about 30 seconds of you accepting it. If for any reason you do have housing meal plan on your account and you do use a short-term loan, keep in mind, since short-term loan doesn't cover housing and meal plan, you would still have to have those individual charges paid by our financial aid deadline. I know that might be confusing to some people, but just one more time, if you have housing and meal plan and tuition and you choose to take a short-term loan, the short-term loan only covers tuition and course-related fees. So if you have that short-term loan, tuition is covered, you want to make sure you're paying the housing and meal plan off at minimum. Installment plan covers everything within the installment. All right, let me go ahead and move on here to dropping a course or withdrawing from a course. So this is going to be kind of important. Reason why we mentioned it earlier about the payment deadlines and then the dropping and withdrawing on our payment and refund calendar is because depending on whenever you are actually going to be dropping or withdrawing, there could be a cost associated with that. So if you don't have the student insurance, which again is optional, you're no means required to have student insurance, you want to make sure you are looking at the drop and withdrawal dates on the academic calendar. UTD is a state agency, so we must adhere to section 54.006 of the Texas Higher Education Code that determines the refund policy for dropping and completely withdrawing each semester. As I stated before, the state of Texas does not recognize what we would call a benevolent refund. So please note, dropping a course and a complete withdrawal do not have the same financial impacts. Students with financial aid or scholarships should also contact their financial aid counselor before dropping or withdrawing. Reason why we mention that is because there are different impacts depending on what office it is. If you have a scholarship or any type of financial aid, there's a possibility that some of that aid could get removed as a result of you dropping or withdrawing. So before you do any of that, you always want to make sure you're checking with financial aid, our office, and potentially even maybe the registrar's office in terms of how it might affect your academic record as well. But for our purposes, if you do drop a class and remain in at least one other session course, so just one other class for spring 2024, you're eligible for a 100% refund until the following dates that are on here. And that's essentially going to be the census date for each of our individual terms. So our full term, first 8 week, second 8 week. If you're not sure what term applies to you, an easy way to look at it is if you are in one class that takes place during the regular full term and you're in one class that takes place during the 8 weeks, both of those are technically going to be charged as a full term session as a result. But you do want to make sure though you are dropping that 8 week class by that census day to not get charged by it. If you have questions on that, definitely feel free to reach out. This stuff can be confusing when it comes to dropping or withdrawing. We are available through chat, 9 a.m., 4:45 p.m. Monday through Friday. We have people on the phones, email from 9 to 5 every day as well, except for the weekends. Withdrawing from all your courses is a little bit different. The dates are going to vary just a little bit versus dropping. So if 100% refund is going to be through Monday, January 15th. So another important thing about that is that is around the last date that you would also have to get that tuition insurance as well. Reason why is first day of classes is going to be that following Tuesday, January 16th. Once you get to January 16th, you would no longer be eligible for 100% refund if you're completely withdrawing from all your classes. So it's important that if for any reason you have to withdraw, you're doing it before the first day of class. Another thing to mention here with dropping versus withdrawing, we use the word refund with dropping and withdrawing, but in terms of dropping, let's say you're enrolled in 4 classes for the semester, and then you drop one class before January 31st. Some students will expect to get, when they get a refund or hear the word refund in terms of their charges, they're going to expect to get money refunded back to them for that class. And naturally, you would. The way this works, though, is it's more of we do more what's like a proration. So instead, let's say you're being charged $5,000 for full time. You drop one class and then you're expecting a refund. What we're doing is we're recalculating your tuition essentially, so that way you're only paying for the 3 classes instead of 4. So some students get confused on that when they drop a class. They think they're going to get money refunded directly back to them. That may not be the case. It may just be we're adjusting your tuition. So some students might think they're going to get a refund on their account and they don't. We're prorating your tuition so you're no longer being charged for it. So it is essentially a refund in that there are no charges on the account anymore. Again, email us, call us for questions on these. We only have a short period of time to actually cover things like this, but we will definitely spend the time in depth if you want to call us and email us, and we can really go more thoroughly with this if anyone does have questions on it. I mentioned earlier credit balance refunds or setting up a direct deposit through EasyPay. So if you have an account that's in excess, so normally you'll know if it's in excess if your account shows a negative balance. So a credit balance will show on your account as a negative amount due to that overpayment that you might have possibly, whether it's scholarship or maybe you overpaid. So for the example here, let's say you have a negative credit balance on your account. More than likely that means you're going to be owed a refund and that we need to get that money back to you. Credit balances are usually going to be processed within 2 to 4 business days after the credit is posted on the account. So students with a US bank account, you would want to set up direct deposit through EasyPay, as a direct deposit is going to be received within 1 to 3 business days. So that means whenever that negative balance is on your account, we're going to get that money back to you in about 1 to 3 days. If you're expecting a check refund and you have a US address, we can send you a check refund. That can take up to 3 weeks to process. We are only mailing to US addresses, and we do not do physical checks that often anymore, as we are largely a paperless campus at this point. Students that are making a payment through Flywire, you can be refunded through Flywire as well. If you need help on that, you will need to just reach out to us, and then we can help facilitate that refund through Flywire. All right, and then moving on here, I do have a couple of frequently asked questions that I will have some answers here for y'all. First one, do I need to choose my tuition plan? This is important because previously in previous semesters, we gave students a action item to actually choose a tuition plan and to choose between our guaranteed and our variable rate. Now we automatically have students on the variable rate, and we do not make it an action item for them to actually change the plan. You would just need to reach out to us if you want to change to the guaranteed rate. Once again, though, I will reiterate, our guaranteed rate is going to cost about $1,000 more a semester than the rate that students are already put on. Can you tell me how much I owe before I am registered? Yes, you can get a tuition estimate through your UTD Student Center. That is going to be fairly accurate to what you're actually going to owe. Once you've actually been enrolled in your courses, that's going to give you 100% what you're going to owe for the semester. Otherwise, you can't get that tuition estimate, and it is going to be very close to what you're going to owe. So yes, we can provide you with a fee statement as well, especially if you are trying to get funding from your home country, whether that's a loan or just from a foreign bank, and you need that statement. Yes, we can provide that to you. I will emphasize that the fee statement is not necessarily going to be for 4 years. We're going to do it per semester. So we could do it for spring, and let's say if you need it for summer, we could do it technically. It's not going to be for the whole year though. We do those by semester. All right, and can I pay tuition cash? We do not accept cash anymore. We are paperless, cashless campus for the most part. So it's either going to be e-check, Flywire, or you're going to be making your payment through EasyPay with a credit card. My demand draft or wire transfer is more than my tuition charges. Will I be refunded? Yes, we will make sure that you get your refund sent to you. Whether it's through EasyPay or Flywire, we will work with you to get that refund sent back. When is my tuition payment deadline? Again, January 11th is what you can expect if you, as far as you know, do not have any scholarship or financial aid coming in. If you are a scholarship or financial aid recipient, excuse me, you can expect your deadline to be January 25th then. If you are unsure on the deadline or if you're expecting a scholarship, feel free to check with our office or even financial aid just to be sure. If they have a scholarship on the account, they'll be able to let you know. How do I get the student insurance waived? Once again, you'll want to go ahead and reach out, look online on the criteria for that student insurance to see how you can get it waived. If you already have comparable insurance, they will waive it if you meet the criteria. Why do I have a hold on my account? So you can have multiple holds on your account and they can come from multiple offices. So if you see a hold on your account and it says admissions or Bursar on it, you want to reach out directly to that respective office. Reasons why we may have a hold on your account really could be, it could be if you have a past due payment, things like that. It'll usually say what it's for, or if you have a past due balance, past due installment. Those are generally holds you're going to see from our office. We used to put a hold on the account for tuition selection. We no longer do that. So most of the time, if you see a hold from us, it's going to be for your charges in some way. Can I drop a class after the class has started? Yes, you can. Keep in mind, though, the payment and refund calendar that's located online. You want to make sure that you're dropping at a time where you're still going to be eligible to get a refund for that drop course. All right. And there are some recommended action items here. First one is review your tuition plan to determine if you'd like to enroll in the optional tuition insurance. Again, the two tuition rates we have, variable rate, and then we have your guaranteed rate. Your guaranteed rate would lock you in for 4 years, but does not represent a current cost savings. The variable rate is the cheaper rate right now that students are automatically already on. The tuition insurance is right now $110 for $10,000 in coverage, which again can be adjusted up if you need more. You definitely will want to become familiar with your academic and payment and refund calendar. Again, it's located online. Even old calendars are accessible to students to view. That academic and payment refund calendar will also be sent to students once we send out our payment reminders each semester as well, so you get multiple times to actually view that calendar from our office, even if you don't look at it online. You want to make sure that you are updating your address as soon as possible. So once you get a US address, US bank account, you want to make sure to get those set up as soon as possible. That way, with a US bank account, if you're expecting a refund, we get that refund to your US bank account. Or maybe if you're expecting a check, we have a US address on file so that we can go ahead and get that to you as well. Refund profile, same deal on EasyPay. If you want direct deposit, make sure to put in a US bank account in EasyPay, and then we'll make sure that any refunds you're owed will get into that account. This is very important. Check your UT Dallas email often and get used to logging into your UT Dallas email. A lot of students may not realize that they have an email or they don't get in the habit of actually checking it. Our communications are sent to students' UT Dallas email, so that's going to include notifications of once we've sent a bill out, once we've sent just a reminder email out, letting students know when their payment deadline is, and their payment options. All of those reminders we send to the UT Dallas email. So if you don't check it and you don't see that we're reminding you about your payment deadline, you're only going to have yourself to blame in that instance, but just get used to using your UT Dallas email. It's not our office that's just going to be emailing you. Any other office that sends any correspondence to you is going to be sending it to that UT Dallas email. So for Flywire payments, again, those can take some time. We usually say maybe about 7 days for the payments to actually get here and then get posted on the account. And that's from the date that the payment is actually going to be initiated. So once you've initiated a Flywire payment, usually you can expect about 7 days for it to be posted. So if you have the January 11th payment deadline, you may want to initiate your payment probably a week or more ahead of time to make sure it gets there on time. All right, and I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time here. So I believe we do have some time for maybe some questions as well.
It is correct, Patrick. Thank you
Awesome.
very much for this helpful, informative moment time from the Bursa's office. We highly appreciate this guidance, and certainly for the new international students is for them to have a solid a portfolio information regarding any financial expectation or transaction that they should be doing upon arrival or even before arrival at UT Dallas. So thank you very much, Patrick. And yes, I'm going to go ahead and open the Q&A section right here in the chat of this virtual info session. And the audience there, you are welcome to pose your questions, your comments, your reactions, and certainly with in collaboration with Patrick Cruz from the Bursa's office for him to provide guidance, additional guidance with specific wisdom based on the individual circumstances of these students attending this virtual info session. And this is a very unique opportunity. We know that this is going to be basically more than 60-minute session, but we in advance appreciate the flexibility from everybody to ensure that we can be here together in providing as much as possible this logistical, comprehensive financial information. So Patrick, you may have access to the Q&A, and you're welcome to select the questions and to answer based on your criteria. Please go ahead. You are muted.
Naturally. All right. So I do see we will have a video recording of this. This will be posted. I believe that is within, did you say 48 hours?
Is correct. Is in general, it will be within 24, 48 hours, but actually we are very committed to release this information right away. It should be a matter of a couple hours or so, and then will be available in the ICP YouTube channel. So
Great.
Go
Awesome.
to the webpage of the International Student Orientation, go to the specific table of the calendar of the virtual info sessions, and just click right there, and we'll be basically substituting the hyperlink. Instead of the comment calendar, will be directly the YouTube ICP channel.
Okay, cool. All right. And so I will be joining as a research PhD assistant. I already have a US bank account. How will I get my payments? So if you do already have a US bank account, definitely make sure to log into EasyPay. Now, the way the payments for being an RA or a TA will get posted is generally the financial aid office will be the ones to put those payments, I guess, on your financial aid. We'll disperse it still. Once it's dispersed on your account, we will make sure you get the payments within 2 to 3 business days at that point. So what you want to make sure to do ahead of time is log into EasyPay, put in your US bank account number as a refund account. Once financial aid gets anything that applies to your RATA ship on your account, we'll get it dispersed and get anything that needs to be refunded to you within 2 to 3 business days. All right. Student joining Spring 24, Dean of Excellence Award in Fall 24. How is fee changes from non-resident to resident? And when that resident fee, when will it be applied? Will it be applied for all of Fall 24, Spring 25, Summer 25? Yeah. So if you are joining in Spring 2024, you're getting Dean's Excellence. If it's awarded in the fall, I get what you're saying. All right. So I believe I do. So you're saying if you are awarded for the upcoming fall, it would still be posted in the fall semester if it's not actually awarded in the spring semester. Now, if your scholarship is awarded in the spring semester, we're going to apply any applicable waiver that's going to take your costs down to the in-resident rate. If it's in the fall semester, that's when it's going to be posted in the semester it's awarded. So if you're coming in the spring and you got the Dean Excellence Award already, it's going to be posted that semester. And for as long as that scholarship is good, we'll keep posting, really. We say for an academic year, because most scholarships are at least for a year or for 2 semesters. If that scholarship is continuous, we'll still keep applying your waiver on there. So if the scholarship is good for 4 years, for instance, then yes, we would keep continually applying the waiver as long as you're meeting the requirements for that scholarship. But if you come in the spring semester, the scholarship's awarded in fall, you're not going to be eligible for the waiver until the semester that scholarship is actually awarded for. And are there any scholarships for freshmen for spring 24 in computer science? Most scholarships are going to say U.S. citizens or Texas residents. A lot of the ones that will open up for the upcoming fall and maybe even the summer, to my understanding, generally right now, anything that's on there isn't going to be current. There's a lot of scholarships that aren't going to be open right now. Most of them tend to open usually around the springtime and the semester that y'all would be essentially attending. Maybe like February or March is when scholarships actually start posting. A lot of the stuff that's on here right now is either going to be tentative or a lot of it's not open, and it's just a couple of them. So there will be scholarships that are open to all students. Those usually tend to start opening in the spring semester around March time. I would definitely reach out to financial aid. They can guide you to some other scholarship resources. You may also want to check your school's individual webpage because they will sometimes post their own scholarship portal as well. Scholarship results. So since scholarships generally open up in the spring, they tend to get awarded over the summer, all the way up until, I'd say, beginning of classes in the fall. So it'd be kind of hard to give an exact for when you can expect a result, but generally they tend to be awarded in the summer. If one's already open for the spring, you may want to just reach out to the department then for when they're expected, because each scholarship will have its own criteria. It's going to have its own application essentially and its own requirements. All right, I have a sponsor. Can I still pay by using my credit card? Now, if you're saying you have a sponsor who's going to be paying on your behalf, you can. Be aware though, if you use a credit card, there is a 1.9% charge fee with that. So I would say if you could get a US bank account, you may want to just do an e-check through EasyPay, because then that's just drawing money directly from the bank account, and there's not going to be an extra fee incurred on that as a result. If a spring 24 student gets a scholarship for fall 24 with the spring 24 tuition fee refunded, would it be refunded? It would not. So again, scholarships, they're going to be posted on the account the semester they're awarded, and then you're only eligible for the waiver for whatever semesters you're actually receiving that scholarship. And then once again, for international students, you're looking for scholarships that are going to be awarding $1,000 or more. Those are the ones that are going to generally qualify you to get that in-state waiver, which is going to bring down your cost of tuition to the in-state. And you can apply to scholarships technically whenever. It really just depends on the scholarship again. Because they do mostly open in the spring, you'll really want to start looking around then. But once they start opening, you're going to have a lot more options to apply to. So yes, you can really apply to scholarships before the semester starts. There just may not be a lot open at this point. TA or RAs, I would definitely reach out to your academic department for any available opportunities for that. That's going to be the best way to get more information on that. In the event that you do become a TA or RA, though, we would facilitate the process with the student insurance and then the waivers, applying it to your tuition. Are there any session events like this for the financial aid team? That's a great question. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I know that financial aid does have frequent sessions for orientations. I would go ahead and reach out to them just in case, though, just because I am not sure, so I don't want to give anyone any wrong information, but definitely reach out to financial-aid at utdallas.edu. They can answer any questions, especially if it's regarding maybe scholarship availability, where to find a scholarship, and what types of aids the international students are eligible for. And does student health insurance cover all medical related expenses? I would go ahead and reach out just in case in regards to that. There, awesome. Thank you so much, Rodolfo, for that link.
Yes, in that case, that's very specific question for the Student Health Center, where there is a subsection in the webpage related to the health insurance for international students. You will find the specifics of the policy right there. The student health insurance will be effective in principle for all international students from January the 1st to May the 31st, and is assigned based on registration of classes. In other words, they need to register first, and after registration, the health insurance will be assigned to the account of the student. And it's very comprehensive package in terms of protecting the students for basic services, preventing services, and certainly for circumstances of urgency or emergency, including repatriation and or evacuation. So please consult directly the webpage, and if you have additional questions, don't hesitate to contact ICP programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Is JSOM graduate scholarship only for someone who has given a GMAT or GRE? A lot of times, the specific scholarships for the programs may state whether or not they are going to require a GMAT or GRE. Now, if you've gotten a waiver for it and you've gotten admitted into the program, then there may be a possibility that you don't need to have that specifically for applying for a scholarship then. With JSOM, you'll want to definitely double check. I feel like JSOM maybe had a requirement originally when they considered applicants for scholarships that they had to have the GRE, GMAT on there in order to consider them for scholarships. So you may want to reach out to JSOM specifically, because I do believe they may have a requirement in terms of their specific scholarships for a GMAT or a GRE score.
There is a question related to the meningitis vaccination.
Okay.
I'm basically responding based on the guidance from the Student Health Center. The web page for this topic, and also as well for the tuberculosis test, is in the following web page that is included in the Q&A column. I will be publishing this information. And also say that the meningitis vaccination is mandatory for anybody under the age of 22 to respond directly to that question. Thank you. Patrick, I don't see any new questions right here. Any other remarks or final recommendations for new international students joining us in the spring 2024?
Yeah, really, again, I know it's a lot of information, especially in a short amount of time and everything, and it can be a little confusing. So definitely, if you have more questions, even if it's just about the fees, how much it's going to cost for each semester. If you do need a tuition statement, you can reach out to our office, Bursar at utdallas.edu. You can also call 972-883-2612. We do have people available on the phones every day just to answer your basic questions. And we also have that chat available from 9 to 4:45 p.m. Monday through Thursday, I believe. Any questions you have on that, we can definitely answer. If it's anything with scholarship, reach out to financial aid. But if it's a payment plan, what payment method can I use? What fees might I get with this course? What are the costs that might be associated with this program? Things like that. Those are questions that we will be able to generally answer for you. So really just feel free to reach out, especially if there's something on here maybe you didn't see. I know this will be posted later for everyone as well. Also just really want to thank everyone for attending. I realize, it could be different times for a lot of y'all. So just very thankful that you took the time to, spend with us in our office and just getting a little bit of information. But if you do need anything else, definitely reach out and we'll be able to get it for you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Patrick. And
Thank you.
certainly one additional recommendation, be proactive. You have many resources in the webpage of UT Dallas, specifically through the Bursar's office webpage, Intercultural Programs webpage. And so to ensure that you at least are exposed to the information, to the basic guidance, and based on that, on your individual circumstances, to reach out and for us to provide you the specific information and bringing added value to your own process. We know that it's a live decision coming from your home community to UT Dallas, and certainly it could be with the corresponding challenges. So we want to ensure that you have what you need for a smooth transition from your home community to the UT Dallas community, and to welcome you right here, and for us to be a great host for you to enhance your successful academic and cultural journey at the University of Texas at Dallas. So please be proactive, reach out and present your questions, and let us help you to ensure that you are successful at UT Dallas. Patrick, one more time, thank you for your partnership. Thank you for the partnership of Bursar's office. This is a traditional virtual info session, well attended always, and very helpful for all these new international students who are going to join us in the spring 2024. Have a great morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are. My name is Rodolfo Fernandez from Intercultural Programs, and also would like to present my gratitude to Ruchikesh Komra, who is an international student who is affiliated to the Intercultural Programs team, who has been providing technical support in terms of the management of these slides, and certainly Leticia Samarripa, the Director of Global Engagement, who as well has been providing welcome remarks and the specific guidance instructions for this virtual info session. So thank you, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good night.